Hello and welcome to the May edition of 71 Magazine. I'm your host, John Bryanton, and first we'd like to thank OMU for underwriting this segment. Well, summer's upon us, and certainly we're going to be using our air conditioner quite a bit now. So with us in the studio is Sonia Dixon, who is a Communications and Public Relations Manager for OMU, and she's going to be providing us some with utility tips to save a little money this summer. So welcome to the show, Sonia.
Thank you, thank you.
Well, I got to tell you, let's begin with how important it is in getting your HVAC checked up.
You know, it's a hassle, isn't it, to schedule something and then you think, oh, it's been running okay, and I checked it once and it's good to go. But you know, it'd be like running your car and not checking the oil and not having things made sure that they're all in there and your belts are tightened and the wheels are still in good shape and all of that sort of thing. We do that regularly. You know, your HVAC system and your heat, you know, is the same way, and you need to take care of it. Scheduling, you know, if you're handy and you can get in there and you can check that out and make sure it's cleaned and make sure that everything's operational, that's great. But if you can't, calling a trusted professional would be a great idea. You know, the more efficient that system works, the less energy you're going to use and the more money you're going to save. So, you know, that $100 service call is well worth it. And you're not stuck in the heat of summer and in a crisis mode.
Right. Matter of fact, I've got a great story for you. I, you know, like everyone, I'm sure, I threw my air conditioning on for the first time, and you do this, you know, when you go outside and you listen, oh, it's running, oh, I feel a little cool air coming out, you know, well, then next thing you know, the house isn't cooling. And so I can't figure out what's wrong, and so I call a serviceman. He comes out, well, my fan motor is out.
Oh.
Okay, so that goes out. Well, then he leaves, it's running again and everything. Next thing I know, I got water underneath my furnace downstairs. Well, I call him back and he comes out. Well, what that is just a clog. There's a pan back there that collects condensation, and it was clogged, so it was just running down the back. Had I probably had somebody come out prior to all of this, maybe some of these things could have been discovered. So I'm a big advocate on getting somebody out there just to do a upfront maintenance, just to make sure the freon's right, to make sure your fan motor's working well, and all that. So great advice.
You know, it is well worth it. It doesn't take very long. I will tell you that the HVAC folks are very busy right now because a lot of people are having what happened to you happen to them. So, you know, getting on the schedule, most of them are very flexible, and just it's well worth. It's a peace of mind, and you're also going to save money in the long run.
It is, and it will definitely make my wife a lot happier when the air conditioning is working when it's 75 or 80 degrees outside. Okay, moving on. Checking seals on doors and windows.
You know, that's something we forget about. We, you know, like when we shut the door this winter, we're like, oh yeah, that wasn't, you know, the heat and the expansion. You know, we've had cool weather and then heat, and that's going to crack some of those apart. That's a really easy thing to check, and there are a million ways to take care of that. Anything from just self-adhesive weather stripping to actually having something nailed in, to having little sweeps put in. There's all sorts of things you can do. Those are handyman's dream projects because they do go pretty quickly. But once again, if you're not comfortable doing that, you can always contact a contractor. And what happens is, you know, it's not only that you're letting that air that you've cooled inside your home out, you're also not letting any additional heat in. And so you're going to save. And then keep in mind that that's going to help you out when winter comes around too.
Well, let me say, I can do that. I have done that. I have changed the weather stripping. So if I can do it, I think anybody out there can.
You know,
it's not that hard.
There's a YouTube video for everything now, and I think just a lot of patience. And then, you know, once you do one, you start learning and working through that. You know, and if you're not wanting to tackle all of them, make sure that you get the most exposed part of your home. You know, there's an area where you're getting a lot of sun, you don't have a tree, that sort of thing.
Well, I'll tell you what, something else that I've always heard, that you should not be using heat generating appliances during the hottest part of the day. Is that true?
That's true. You're only going to make your AC unit work harder. You know, it seems innocent enough, right? Oh, that dryer's in the basement, or I'm going to run my dishwasher on the heat mode, or whatever you might be doing like that. And sure, that's just heating up your house. It's just making that system work a little harder. If you wait until typically after sundown or later in the evening, or do it very, very early in the morning before it's the hottest part of the day, you're just not making that system work as hard.
Well, you know, that makes a lot of sense. So that is good advice. Now, here's something else that I've heard, that just using a ceiling fan can drop the temperature in your house actually a couple degrees.
It can. It can as much as up to as much as 5. Typically, it's about 3 degrees. It just feels cooler.
Yeah.
You're getting the most out of your air. Now, yes, you are using some power to move that ceiling fan, but you're maximizing your unit. You're getting that, and it's amazing how much different, especially if it's the room that you're in, and maybe if it's a room that you're eating and cooking in, and your bedroom at night. Because the worst thing is to sleep when it's warm. But if you can have that ceiling fan running well, sure, take advantage.
Yeah, we at my house, the ceiling fan is on in the bedroom in the evening all the time because it's getting so hot and things of that nature, and it really does make a huge difference.
It does.
Instead of turn the air conditioner, up to where I'm heating the whole house when I'm secluded in one room under blankets, I think it really does make a lot of sense.
It does.
Here's something interesting: dehumidifiers. Let's talk about those.
Well, a lot of people don't think about that, but a lot of, especially in our area, when I talk to some of my friends that live out west, they don't quite get this.
Right.
But the humidity is what makes you hot. You'll say it's 75 degrees outside. I should be comfortable, but the humidity is what causes you an issue. A lot of what your air does, what your air conditioning system does, is it blows cool air in to lower the humidity for you. So a dehumidifier is a great idea. Now, keep in mind you are using power, so make sure that you get a very efficient one and you run it sparingly. But on those days when we have high humidity, which unfortunately is most of the summer, you can run that and help get some of the moisture out of your house, and you're not going to make your system work quite as hard.
I remember as a kid, my folks always ran a dehumidifier in the basement.
Basements are typically traps for dampness, and that does help quite a bit.
Right. Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit about smart water usage as we come up on this.
We're very fortunate in that we have an ample and affordable supply of water, but we don't want to pay any more than we have to, and we want to use that as efficiently as we can. Not to mention that you're also paying a sewer charge, and rightfully so, because they're disposing of the water. In addition, so you're kind of saving on both accounts. So, thinking about what you're doing, looking at the times of day that you water, thinking about when you're washing the car. The heat of the day is when I think about washing the car, because I think, oh, it's already hot. I'm going to get out there with that cool hose. That's going to dry the water so quickly. You're just not going to gain as much ground. And something to think about too is that people do have sprinklers in their yard and that sort of thing. I know it's great to have those timings set, but how many times have you driven by and it's raining?
And the sprinklers are going.
And then also think about how much water. I mean, it's great to have a beautiful lawn, but think about, does it need all that water?
Right.
I know that it's nice, like I said, to have it lush, but kind of thinking about that, and not to mention thinking about a separate meter for the sprinkler, or even, because you're not actually, what that does is you don't pay a sewer charge on that. Now, there is a charge for the meter and there are some costs, so you may want to talk to one of our customer service representatives and see if it's worth it to you. But if you have a large lawn and you're doing a lot of watering, it could be a savings to you.
I didn't even know that existed. So that is great information. Let's talk about the Community Cares program, because I know people normally think about that at the holidays, but listen, this is a time of the year that people could use that.
We are what we call a summer peaking utility, which means that people use more power typically in the summer. Not that we don't have some large heating bills for the blowers and that sort of thing, but people are trying to cool their homes, and it's interesting because each June and July, it's always really a shock for a lot of people. They've kind of had some lower spring bills. They've been able to kind of manage those, and then they're hit with some larger bills because they've simply had to run their air. And a lot of those people are living in places that are not necessarily very energy efficient. And so what I love about the Community Cares program is it takes money that OMU is already contributing to the Salvation Army. The Salvation Army does all of the vetting for us. There are no administrative costs or anything like that, but they help us determine how to spend those funds the best. But we can also contribute as OMU customers. We can contribute regularly on our bill. We can make a one-time donation. We can do any of that sort of thing. And there are lots of ways we can help in our community, but this one seems so mindless. It seems so easy. I'll just add $10. I'll just add 50 cents. I'll just round my bill up, or once a quarter I'll write a check. And those those funds, and those funds are going to OMU customers, and they are going through a very clear vetting process, and I know that's very important to a lot of people. Imagine helping someone with their utility bill. That is a necessary expense. They have families, they're trying to keep them cool in the summer, and they're also trying to keep them warm in the winter. But helping offset those costs, is such a gift to our community.
It is. Now, Sonia, a lot of great information today. Where can people get some additional information?
At omu.org. What's great is that we have a very huge section related to energy efficiency. We have a section also for renters and for homeowners, because we know there are certain things that you cannot do as renters, but you can do as homeowners. But it gives you some really great tips, kind of some quick fixes and some long-term ones. And before we leave, I want to mention that quick fix for both groups.
Right.
Hopefully you've changed that air filter every 30 days. It's really easy to forget. I know that the man who comes and services our heating and air conditioning system, first thing he does is ask me, do I need to go change that?
Right.
So changing that every 30 days, you can do that as a renter. You don't have to buy the expensive ones. The price points are all over the place.
Right.
Not only is it going to keep your system working more efficiently, it's going to trap allergens and dust in your home as well.
Right.
So if you do nothing at the end of this, after watching this, I hope that you'll go and maybe mark your calendar and once a month change that. But there are some really simple tips like that on there that are incredibly useful.
For changing the filters, I always put it in my calendar on my phone.
Good for you.
See,
Good
that
for
way
you.
It automatically notifies me that I have to change it, because that's something that I just don't read. It's not something that's at the top of my head all the time.
Well, a lot of people put something on there and mark when they do it. I don't know about you. I don't look at my filter that often, so I get that. I have a friend who changes it when she gets her OMU bill.
That's a good idea.
That's a great way to remember it.
Yeah.
But there are lots of really great tips about that, and also when to water your lawn and when to do all of those sorts of things. And as always, you can call us at 270-926-3200. I hope that you'll follow us on Facebook and Twitter. We put some really great, sometimes some great information from the Energy Efficiency Division of the Department of Energy. They have some great tips that sometimes we don't think about. We put a lot of information out there as well.
You guys are fantastic too about tracking outages.
Oh,
You just are. You're great about it. I mean, not only do you find out where there is an outage, but you're good about coming back and saying that outage is now repaired.
yes, because you're not always home, or you're not
Exactly.
always at the business. And what's great, we do that on Facebook, but also when it comes to outages and any kind of critical news that we would need to get to you, we have a texting option, and you can sign up through omu.org. And what's great about that is it's free, and we use it sparingly.
Yeah.
You're not going to hear from us once a day. You're going to hear from us when we know that we need to get good information out to you. And that also has some information about jobs, information about how our OMU fiber net is growing, information about outages, and then also if we have any news that we need to get to you. So you can pick and choose from that menu.
Right. Excellent, Sonia. Well, listen, thanks for joining
Thank
me
you.
today. I appreciate it. It's always great seeing you.
You too.
Okay. Listen, thanks for tuning into this segment of 71 Magazine. On behalf of OMU and OCTV, we hope you have a great summer. We'll see you back here in June.